Well, hello everyone. Today is July 27th, 2016. As you know, most of you do, I would imagine, the Democratic Convention is still ongoing. However, they have used excessively dirty tricks once again and turned Bernie and his supporters away. Now, this has been a very unique, exceptionally unique time in history. I know we had the thing in 1968, the convention and all of this, and that was pretty interesting. But this is very, very unique. It ties in specifically to this remapping of the world template that Thoth has been sharing with me, and I will put a link to that article in with this video in my WordPress site in case you missed that article. So I won't go into all detail about it now. But he has stated that the Democratic Convention is a gnarly knot. Well, those are my words, gnarly knot, but he showed me a knot. And it needs to be undone so that certain energies can flow on the planet and the remapping can begin on a broader scale. Actually, some more defragging needs to go on first. But the knot has to be defragged before all else. So, where do we stand with that? Well, obviously, the best of all happenings, or that which we think is the nomination of Bernie Sanders for president and getting us away from this incredibly corrupt, not only oligarchy, but almost satanic control of this country and meaning also of the world in many ways because it's far outreaching. We would think, well, let's get Bernie in there and he will pick up on the plans he had in mind and we'll change it. And this is what Bernie was hoping for sure. He's giving his life to that, his life's blood. As a 74, now 75-year-old man, that means more than it does for a younger person. I can attest to that. However, maybe Bernie wasn't really intended to be president after all. It's quite possible that had he become president, he would have found himself in a position where he could not do anything. Not because of Congress and the Senate and all of that. Yes, getting the people voted out of those positions and others voted in is good. It's a good plan. But the presidency is not what it appears to be. And it has not been that way in a long time. And when Bernie Sanders went to visit President Obama, just before Obama declared his, what do you call it? I can't think of the word. Support of, that's not the word, of Hillary, his official support. And then right after that, Bernie did as well. Well, when he went to visit Obama, and he came out of that one-on-one, he was a changed man in some ways. Not in every way, certainly not, but in a way he was. I saw it in his energy field and his expressions, in what he was stating. He wasn't turned. I don't mean that. But he had been given some information that he had not had before, not even suspected before. And this is a savvy man. As he once said years ago, if people knew what went on in this place, meaning the Senate, he said they would go nuts. So he knows a lot of the stuff that goes on. But he didn't know this. And Obama did. Now, once he got into office in his first term, and he told Bernie, and Bernie realized, I believe this is a potential. I'm not saying that it happened. I don't know. But I believe there's a strong potential that Bernie was informed of the real status quo and that he would be literally smashed as a president because he would be forced to do things totally against his integrity or perhaps his family would, meet the executioner's block. And when you're faced with something like that, you do as you're told. And Bernie, of course, that would have killed him. I mean, it's hard enough on somebody like Obama, but Obama, he's taken things before, and he didn't like it, but he's able to do it. Bernie would not be able to do that. And he wouldn't do it. Absolutely not. So I feel that it's very likely, on some level, Obama shared this with him, enough for Bernie to realize he could not be in that position. And the best position for him to be in would be outside that loop, forming what he is now, the progressive movement and he's forming the Bernie Sanders Institute, and all of this stuff to help people on the outside change the situation. There's really more power there than in the seat of the presidency. Now that part I know. I say I know. I know as much as I can know anything, okay? I assume I'm channeling Thoth. And if I am, well, the Thoth intelligence has informed me of that much, that the seat of the President of the United States is basically a puppet seat. That's all it is. Nothing more and nothing less. The few good things that Obama managed to do, that he really wanted to do for the country, he was allowed to do because it looked good, to keep him, and it wasn't that important for their main goals. But that's all he would be in a puppet seat. So when he realized that, I imagine he also realized that the stronger position to take was outside that, outside that controlled arena, because they really don't have whatever you want to call them, the owl, the oligarchy, Satan's children, whatever you want to call them. They do not have control over the whole enchilada. They just have control, strong control, over their own position, which includes the presidency of the United States and of some other countries as well. So if Bernie was to realize that through hook or crook, whatever way he realized it in that conversation with President Obama, whatever Obama told him or might have told him, that would certainly explain the shift. Now we know that Bernie had said all along, and he's a man of his word, that if he lost the nomination, he would support the nominee. And he kept his word. But see, there's more to it than that, because when he said that, I seriously, seriously doubt he realized what was going on under the Clinton blanket, so to speak. All the tomfoolery under there. He knew Hillary's foibles, this and that, but he didn't know all of that. This was before WikiLeaks. This was before the horrible rigging of the elections. He didn't know about the DNC, that it would be that bad. Bernie didn't know everything, and he still doesn't know everything, but he knows a heck of a lot more. And I believe that on the strength of that, he might have done something differently. He might have even gone independent, although he swore he would not do that. There are things he might have done anyway. It would have been a tough call because he doesn't like to break his word. If he says something, he wants to mean it, and he sticks to it. But I think he might have changed his course, at least to some degree, had it not been for his talk with Obama. Now, all of that part is speculation. I'm trying to be clear on what's my speculation and what is coming from what I believe to be Thoth intelligence. Thoth intelligence has only told me that the seat of the presidency is a puppet seat, nothing more, nothing less. And that they control that and other things that come under their little dominion in a very, very strong and powerful way. But they do not control the outer realm. They have their fingers in all the pies, but they don't control it. So that's what he's told me. And everything else I'm saying here, unless I make some specific statement to the contrary, is what I am suggesting. But I want to preface what I'm about to show you with all of this, because I know you don't want just to hear my opinions rattling on and on, but I do want to give you some platform for what I think. Well, okay, let me pause a moment and collect my thoughts. Another thing that the Thoth intelligence has shown me, and it showed me this a long time ago, was that the certain extraterrestrial beings on this that are working on this planet and, you know, circling around and doing their things, those that are involved in taking people involuntarily for examinations, you know, the abduction thing, taking their sperm, implanting it into the females, having the females give birth to babies that they either take or leave with them for future analysis, all this kind of stuff that's going on, and he verifies that is going on. All of that has a purpose. Their outer little sort of purposes, this and that and that and the other, you know, they're different things. They're kind of on the surface. But the main thing, the main reason these ETs are doing this is they wish to propagate for them what Thoth calls the Imstra molecule. And I first wrote about the Imstra molecule in the 1980s. I won't go into great detail here. I'll put a link to that topic where I've embedded this video on my WordPress site. One of them, whichever one I decide to put this on, probably Tribe-Light. So this molecule, in a nutshell, in a molecule shell, is what allows the being to become human. And when I say human, I don't mean 2 arms and 2 legs and 2 eyes and upright walk and all of that. This is what we, you know, define as human, or sort of, kind of human. I don't think the scientists themselves really know what to make of humanity. But in any case, what Thoth defines as human is having the Imstra molecule, because that generates a resonance field with the pathing of the soul incarnated into the body, into the higher realms, and into the Metatronic full light spectrum. Now, there are artificial intelligences. I didn't know that word then. I just called them these little ET guys. But, you know, and later I was told they were made by, you know, other beings that made them as, you know, genetically made them. But let's call them, for what everybody else is calling them now, artificial intelligences, or AIs, I believe, yeah. So these AIs do the work of these other guys for them, and they're searching for this molecule. Well, not searching for it. They know where it is. They have to recreate it. You see, you can't just pluck this molecule out of one body and put it into another. You can't pluck it at all. It's a quantum molecule. So you can't seize it. But it's there. It's there. And that's what gives us what we've got, that moves us beyond all of this nasty stuff and carries us home. Now, E.T. would like to go home too, but probably for different reasons than the ultra designer of the universe, the God, that created all of this had in mind. They really don't appreciate spirituality. It's just like, you know, fantasy land to them, what we call spirituality. They do appreciate scienceology, not Scientology, but scienceology. And they realize that they're kind of what Thoth said, and I swear to you, I got this from, as far as I know, from Thoth, this actual sentence: consider them dressed up with no place to go. Because they have all this technology, they have all this brain power, they have all this scientific awareness and knowledge, and they're trapped. They're trapped in their dominion. Not in dimensions. They can move through certain dimensions, but the dimensions they can move through are not that expanded. They would like to be able to move further. They have their own agendas and all that they want to do, you know, and whatever, and they want to go further. But they can't do it without the Imstra molecule. So they're trying to create a human condition that will allow them to then incarnate into those bodies. See, they can't incarnate into our spectrum. Our DNA, they won't allow it. there are protections placed on it, to put it simply. But if they could create a human being that has the Imstra molecule that they could enter for that purpose, then they feel that they could move forward. Now, we have to look at, okay, so let's put that on the shelf for a minute. Let's look at the Anunnaki, as they're called. That's kind of a catchword because, as far as those concerned, not all the Anunnaki were bad guys. Some were not, but most were, in the sense of wanting to, place their heavy hand on our earth and do what they wanted with it. But let's call them Anunnaki here and say they were, doing all these experiments. Well, the Thothic version is they weren't starting from scratch and creating these little ape men and then, doing what they wanted. No, they started with, the star races got here first. Okay, let me see if I can set this up for you. In the Lotus reality, the higher version reality of where the true ultra earth abides, it came down like a little tendril attached to this primal earth that was developing. And the primal earth already had developing human-like creatures on it. Human-like, not human, but human-like. Where we eventually got the Cro-Magnons and the Neanderthals and all of that. They were already there, but the stellar beings from the Lotus, from Sirius, Pleiades, Orion, Andromeda, a lot of different ones came through into that format. Originally, though, it was basically it was Sirian, Pleiades, and to some extent Sirius that came first. So they were here developing a place to be in a human environmental experience. They were aware of other creatures and animals on the earth, and they were respectful of that. Now, I have big pieces missing here. I'm not the grand wizard historian on this topic at all. I have giant pieces missing from this. So I'm just going to tell you what I know. And that is that somewhere along the line, when the Anunnaki landed, they were able to induce, capture, convince, I don't know, some of the stellar ones, the ones from the Lotus, which had now been through several cycles on the planet, because it wasn't a lot of cycles, actually, probably thousands and thousands and thousands. So they were kind of, a little bit far from the nest, so to speak. And the Anunnaki grabbed some of these in some way. I don't know how. And started taking their DNA to create. The main thing they wanted to create was not slaves. No. They wanted to create a means to retrieve the Imstra molecule. Now you might think, well, the Anunnaki were human-like, weren't they? They had, they looked like human. Well, yes and no. They weren't really that human. They became more so in time as they developed their human-like species. And when they eventually created this human-like species, the purpose was to get the Imstra molecule. Like it's been all along, the purpose was the Imstra molecule because they did not have it. And why didn't they have it? I need to stop just a minute and say, why didn't they have it? Why don't any of these guys have it? Is it because we're so special? No. Despite all our bullshit, if you will pardon me, we have followed a path of enlightenment. We have. Trust me. We have. I know it's hard to see right now sometimes. These other beings have not. They are scientific. They have certain intellectual scope and directive. They're not evil beings, but they have not followed the course that we have. And that course supplies us with the Imstra molecule. You can't breed it into a race. However, they don't seem to realize that after all this time. And they're still trying. And you might say that makes them seem kind of stupid, but no, from their perspective, they're wearing us down. See, time is different for them. It's different. It's not a long, long time. They're still just getting started here. And so back to the Anunnaki and the whole thing then. So, okay, they created these sort of humans. But it really, there was no Imstra molecule there. So then they worked with it a little more and a little more. I don't have all the pieces, remember? Big pieces missing. They finally got it. They got a hybrid human being from the two star races, the star races with the Imstra and the star races without, that had the Imstra molecule. And they said, hip, hip, hooray. However, they couldn't incarnate into that species. The block was still there. So it was, well, back to the drawing board. And that's where they are now. They're back to the drawing board. So then they said, well, let's don't let this go to waste. So they grabbed the Neanderthal, put a little, or something like the Neanderthal, I don't know if it was that, and put a little of that in there too, and created a subrace that would do their slave work for them. And yeah, they needed some gold for this and that, but see, that was just like, it was an extra thing. Okay. So they said, well, let's not make any waste of this. Let's go ahead with our gold mining and let's make some slaves to help us carry this out. And we've got all this DNA and all these people, if it's not going to be used for the Imstra, well, let's just use it for this. And they did. And that's kind of where we are right now. So us on the planet Earth now are a mixture of the ultra races, which Thoth calls the shepherd race, among other things, the Anunnaki, which we're kind of giving a catch-all term for here, and the indigenous sort of ape-like beings on the planet that were here at the time. We have different mixtures of this, it comes this way, it comes that way. It's just like, you might have an uncle that has more genes in him than of this kind and an aunt that has more of that kind. So we're all mixed with this. It doesn't make any of us superior and any of us inferior because we're all working with this whole GMO, that too, all this whole DNA situation, So why in the world did I start telling you that? Let me think. I had a reason for it. I'm going to put it on hold for a minute. Oh, yes. Okay. So let's move back into position to looking at, what do we want to call them here? Secret government? That seems rather small. Let's call them the OWL, One World Legion. That's Thoth's word for it. Let's call it the OWL. What is the OWL doing with all of this? What's going on here with their connection to the ETs? Or the particular branch of the ETs that are doing this stuff. So I'm going to, at this point, show you a little bit of video. The video, I've taken some segments of it to show you, and it is from a video called Aliens Among Us, and it's showing on Netflix, I believe by subscription only. I looked for it on YouTube and only could find a trailer. But I am going to show you a few little pieces of this video and make some comments on them here.
I mean, government is not averse to spin and dirty tricks.
We know in 1977 that the United States Congressional Research Service was tasked by the Science and Technology Committee of the United States Congress to undertake a major investigation of the issue of extraterrestrial intelligence and the issue of the UFO phenomenon. That this was undertaken directly at the request of President Carter. And that United States government investigation concluded that there were at least from 2 to 6 highly technologically developed intelligent civilizations inside our own galaxy over and above that of our Earth. And that's an official finding of the United States government in 1977 that was submitted to the United States Congress and to the Office of the President of the United States.
99.999% of this country is complete.
Sorry, I'm skipping along here.
the main reason people see UFOs, at least an awful lot of people, is because they're involved in a hybridization program. It's a joint program between Zeta Reticulans and humans to develop better bodies to house our souls in future incarnations. And that's something that elected leaders just cannot talk about. No president, whether it's Bill Clinton or Obama or Bush, can stand before the public and say, yes, I'm aware that we have this program with Zeta Reticulans, and we're picking up your daughters and your wives, and we're taking their eggs, splicing in some extra genes to give them a bigger computer, bigger hard drive, a faster chip, a new USB port for telepathy. We're re-implanting them, and we know what generally they're going to look like. And if they look enough like you, we let the mothers raise them to term. If not, they take them at 3.5 months, put them in artificial wombs. They have to live elsewhere until the consciousness of the people on this planet is raised to accept them as neighbors.
The past 7 years.
Okay, so where I part company with what that fellow just said, by the way, you notice the credentials of these people, is that's the story they are spinning, that these ETs are spinning to the owl, that, that's what they want to do it for. They want to, they're helping us out. They're going to fix us some better bodies here. Now this individual is talking about raising consciousness. I don't think that's what they're saying to the owl. The owl don't want the consciousness raised, but what they do want is a better system to work with, so they can be super beings. Do you think they're going to let us be super beings? No, I don't think so. And so this is the tale that the ETs are spinning with them. Oh, you let us do this. We'll keep some for us, but we'll give some to you too. And you guys can be immortal. You can be immortal, and you can live in these bodies, and this can blah, blah, blah. This is the kind of thing that's really going on here. And scarily enough, they are probably intending to give them here and there some of their bodies, or whatever you want to call it, to to develop if they get what they want, and to make sure they would give them a lesser version, I think. But I don't even know about that. They probably wouldn't give them anything. But the point is, you can see the back I can't say the word, back padding that's going on here. We do this for you, you do this for us. You let us harvest, we give you this. And there's more going on than that. These beings have now, since they started doing these negotiations in the 40s, have worked their way into a real solid situation with them, where even if they wanted to, the owl couldn't just shake these guys off. But there's more going on. There's not just those species. There's other species involved, and they're getting this from them, and they're getting that from them. And, there's trade-offs. It's like one big trade convention, Oh, you have the new blasters. I'll give you some humans for that. I mean, it's like all of this stuff is going on. It's crazy, but apparently it's real. Now, what keeps this from being a top-rated 10-star horror show is what else is going on, and what's going on with the ultra beings, the Illuminati, the angelics for this planet. Believe me, this is so strong. This is so powerful. Think of an ocean, and there are big old rackety waves going up and down on the surface. You're in this little raft, and you're sitting on those waves, and you're saying, oh, pray, please, Jesus, Buddha, whoever's up there, please, please don't let this raft blow over and sink me down into the deep, please. No, no, no. And what happens? The wind blows and the raft sinks like a rock. But guess what? Then you're in the deep. Oh, yes. And in the deep, these marvelous creatures abide. And they are lifting you up. They're healing you, they're soothing you, and they're lifting you up to the skies, to the heavens. Now, one can interpret this as all of us dying and moving on, and maybe, in some cases that's true. But the point that I'm making with this scenario is not necessarily that. We have to dive deep to get to who we truly are and where there is help, not only help, but truth and light and full assistance for us to move forward and carry our Imstra molecules with us. As long as we keep holding to that little raft and battling those waves, it's not going to happen. That is, it's going to happen, but I mean, we're going to be in fear, such fear and anxiety that we can't think straight. Now, there's another part to this, though. And that is that we're on the surface in these little rafts for a purpose. God isn't just stringing us along. He's not sitting there going, oh, isn't this fun? No, it's for a purpose. And the purpose is beyond our understanding and comprehension, perhaps. I don't think any of us listening to this believes in some Godhead figure with, pointing down there and here. We know that God is in with all of us and that God is in this higher intelligence source beingness that is incomprehensible, but yet part of who we are. And yet, we feel lost at times from that because it is, or we choose to make it incomprehensible. So we're on our rafts, and there's a reason we're here. It doesn't mean we should just say, oh, to hell with it. I'm just going to sink this sucker and I'm going to dive deep. No. According to what I received, that's not the message here. The message is to guide your raft with integrity, without fear, and with an open-ended expectation. To be discerning, to be full-hearted, and to be without any expectation of immediate reward, so to speak. In other words, selfless. And if the boat sinks for you, it sinks. And when it does, then you get what you really want. While it's sitting on top of the surface, you may be cussing the clouds and the lightning bolts, but it's better just to bless it all, and to engage it, but to engage it with a heart-centered consciousness. If you let those winds blow you around while you're hanging onto that raft and praying either to sink or for someone to save you, it's a vicious cycle. It gets you nowhere. It gets the planet nowhere. We have to be engaged with each wave, but we're engaged with heart-centered consciousness. And that's not easy. At least it's not easy for me. But it's easy if we embrace it fully. And that's where I am right now. I'm just opening up my arms and really, really, really trying to embrace it with everything I have. I should leave out the word trying. So let's switch scenes here for a minute and look at the situation back again at the office of the presidency, or any prime leader on the planet, actually. But the United States of America has become, sadly, the major seat of power in the world, and thus for the power for the OWL, for the One World Legion. So it's even more important that they get their person into that seat. So they have control of this, right? That part, anyway. But do they? How much is the OWL's control? And how much is the ET influence control? Now, Thoth says to me that, I'm using the simple term, Thoth says to me, that the ETs don't sit down and say, well, you know what, I think you should do this or that, or you better do this or this, and you're going to do that. They don't bother. They don't have to do that. They have ways to send very strong, powerful signals to say this is the overall of what we want done here, because they want to see us being controlled entirely by the OWL, and they control the OWL. You see, that's kind of how it works. I am shown, though, I'm being shown that there are ET officials, or whatever you want to call them, in meetings, certain meetings with government officials, and you can see them sitting there, and and they seem just almost benign, but that's not the case either. So what if, if you look at it from that perspective, you see that this whole thing with trying to get the good guy into office for the presidency of the United States was doomed from the beginning. But the cause wasn't doomed. The energy wasn't doomed. The experience wasn't for naught. All of this brought the consciousness, raised the consciousness of the planet, of the entire planet, not every single person, but, a huge amount of people, especially young people that are going to live longer than us oldies, to realize, to wake up, and not just feel despair and hopelessness and say, oh, well, this doesn't look good. Well, what can I do? I just have to keep paying my debts and do the best I can. Now they see that's not the case. Even with this discouraging situation of Bernie not becoming president, they're wiping their wounds right now, licking their wounds, but they will come forward. They're aware now. They're not going to give up. And they have the platform of being outside of the major control. Remember, they're in this area that the owl do not have control over. They have great influences, but not control. So all that happened would not have been able to happen had Bernie not run for president under the Democratic Party. So it all had its place and its purpose. And this dear man gave all that energy and effort and sadness and sorrow that he must be feeling now to that effort. And it was a success. Now, I'd like to say a little bit about the bad guys. Thoth does not like me to use good guys and bad guys, but I do it anyway because it's fun. Well, I don't know. It just simplifies things, don't you think? But we really know better, okay? I know all my listeners here really know better. That's very divisive. I understand. But this is the way I look at it. I don't see any human being on this planet as being evil or ever having been, even Hitler. We're all one humanity. However, there are people on this planet that do evil. They gather it up in their garden and they munch on it for snacks. And when they do, they suddenly feel a craving for it that they can't resist. And before you know it, they're having 7-course meals of it. Does that make them evil? No. They're created out of the godness of the universal all. But their deeds have gone way astray. They have given in to their lower desires and nature. And basically, when they get that bad off, they have given in to what Thoth called, and actually he's using a phrase of what's his name? Oh, gosh. It's not Nikola Tesla. It's, he's a German esotericist, and I know his name, but I can't say it right now. Anyway, he referred to the Ahriman, or I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but it was his version of Satan, the Ahrimanic. Well, Thoth calls it the Ahrimanic coil. They're giving in to the Ahrimanic coil. And this is an energy implantation in the planet that I don't really understand. Okay, as I speak this now, I don't understand all about it. It's why it's there, what put it there. I don't believe beings put it there. I think it's a natural product of something. And I don't really get the whole picture yet, so maybe I shouldn't be talking about it. But I'm just going to interject this one slight thing. Because he says that when a soul dips in so deeply to the cup of evil, they literally scorch their presence on this coil. It's like they brand themselves with it, And in doing so, it's really difficult for them to come out of it. Part of their being wants to. Never think that a truly ensouled human being on this planet is entirely filled with evil. Never. According to the Thoth intelligence, that is not the case. But whatever is in them that is good and wants to be good and wants to act in spiritual ways and for the betterment of humanity and the light, that part of them has been so squished up into a corner, it's almost the size of a little pinprick. It's big, but it's little. It's big, but it's little. And I stress that because in the wholeness of what it is, it's big. But in the space it occupies in the human incarnation, it is little. And so that gives them a presence of evil, you know. And so that's what it is. But if we start down that line of saying Hillary Clinton's evil, Bill Clinton's evil, Debbie Wasserman's evil, Hitler's evil, you know, and we go down the line of check off who's evil, we are shooting ourselves in the foot, because part of our being is connected to part of their being. And we're denying that spiritual part of them that can be released from bondage. Maybe not in this lifetime, maybe so, I don't know. And we can't give up on a part of ourselves, and that is giving up on a part of ourselves. That said, neither can we turn a blind eye to the acts of evil, and that we should be shouting from the rooftops, not in some angry rant, but in a heart-centered revelation, exploration, and act to transform. And we each do it in our own ways, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but to pursue it in that directive is the way to go, at least from my Thothic perspective and my own inner guidance as well. Now here's another piece that I'm going to add. Maybe it's not even necessary. I've kind of debated to put this into the pot but I'm doing it because we need to understand that a lot of the abuse that's going on from people that are being taken is actually not even coming from the ETs themselves. Certainly all the procreation stuff is, but there's another aspect to it. And I believe this woman is speaking the truth. Listen to this.
Checks and balances. National security and secrets kept for reasons of national security no longer serve the people that they are supposed to protect.
A lot of abduction researchers start to feel that this is somehow explains away alien abduction, and that it's a military in lieu of aliens. In other words, it's a military covert ops, when quite frankly a lot of this is the intelligence community involvement. It's people in lab coats, it's people in other types of uniforms, there are certainly intelligence operatives involved, and there's military personnel seen in people in military uniforms. So I call it covert ops because I think it includes many Black Project covert groups that could be involved in some way. In these experiences, a lot of times there's an interrogation involved. And what they seem to be most interested in are 4 categories of information. One is the alien agenda and alien motives. Why are they interested in the abductee? Why is this person having this happen? Does the abductee have a sense for why the aliens are interested in them? And what do they know overall? Have the aliens told them about any agenda or motives? What are their plans? Where are they taking this? Does the abductee know, or does the abductee have any sense of that? Secondly is alien and abductee genetics. There's a lot of medical stuff that goes on, like in my own experience, but that's common to other people who I've had share similar experiences with me. And there's a big interest in what did the aliens do to us medically? Did they alter us medically? Did they alter us genetically? Is there something unique about our genetics as abductees? This is another big thing they seem to be interested in. That's second. Third is paranormal abilities. Does the abductee, are they able to remote view? Are they able to do psychokinesis, telekinesis? Are they able to do telepathy? Do they move matter with their mind? Have they flown a ship and operated equipment on board that they have done so with their mind? Can they duplicate that for these covert ops guys? Can they duplicate it under pressure? And it will. Or can they be drugged or used in hypnosis and have that enhanced by them where they're able to pull it out even though maybe the abductee isn't able to do it on their own? This kind of thing. So this paranormal component. And then last, but certainly not least, and the biggest of all 4, is their interest in the technology. If the covert ops guys have a piece of alien technology, can they hand it to the abductee, and does the abductee know how to operate it? I have many cases of this kind of thing going on. have they seen the technology? Have they operated? Has it been described to them? Has the propulsion been described to them? Have they seen weaponry? Has the weaponry been described to them? Do they know anything about the cloaking abilities? You know, all this kind of stuff is a big thing that they're interested in. So these are the 4 categories of information. But again, it suggests that these covert ops really believe these people have had these alien experiences, or why would they be asking them those questions? Now, I want to really emphasize that it is not a military in lieu of alien abduction thesis. It is a covert ops interest in the abductees because they have had very real experiences. And to me, it is some of the strongest evidence in support of alien abduction. If alien abductions aren't real, why would all this be happening?
I've been involved in many, many abductions. One mass abduction in particular I'll never forget the rest of my life. Hundreds of us were shown on tiny little monitors beautiful earth scenes. The sea, the mountains, they were drop-dead gorgeous. And
Gets out and talks to people for a while, and then a KGB van pulls up and arrests this 9-foot-tall alien. 1 hour, two little aliens get out and start talking to the audience for about an hour, and then the KGB returns the alien, and as he walks back onto the spaceship, the little aliens salute him, and they go close the door and take off. Right after that, Gorbachev did start the programs of Glasnost and Perestroika for more openness and less repression.
The military's whole goal was to create a series of satellite bases to then launch a series of missiles or tubes, if you will, up to the moon, and then have a series of astronauts go up there and just screw all these tubes together and create sort of an instant moon base that they could then have the high ground of space. And it was called Project Horizon. Project Horizon was probably getting 20 times more money than NASA was getting at that time. So the whole NASA thing was just a front, but it was the civilian peaceful pursuit of space, while the military rather savagely went after the military application of space.
The military mind has prevailed, and the U.S. is going to spend hundreds of billions of dollars to put a base on the moon. And a couple of things bother me about that, I guess. First of all, if the moon is used as an advanced base for some of the extraterrestrials, as has been widely rumored, I don't know what kind of reception the American pioneers will get when they get there. And secondly, the amount of money that's involved to use it on a project as questionable as this, when millions of people are starving on Earth for lack of proper food and water and medical care, I just think is a very, very bad way to spend resources. And I just think, well, frankly, I think it's immoral.
For what purpose? For the purpose of maintaining the permanent war economy on this planet in defiance of the will of the people of this planet, i.e. giving them informed consent, in defiance of the proper care of the ecology of this planet, where we're caretakers of what is, in essence, a universe commons. The human race does not have right, title, and interest to this planet.
To date, we've never had any situations where they were hostile. We've been hostile, but they haven't been hostile. We have had situations where we would shoot at them, and here again, it's human to go ahead and strike out at something you fear or something that's unknown. And that's the nature of the human species.
The NRO has now developed radar which tracks the extraterrestrial light ships in the next dimension over. So this is the deployment of practically the entirety of space weapons against the friendly, integrated, higher plan, universe plan for the positive evolution of this planet.
I'm going to pause that for a moment. There's, it's kind of all mixed together here. You see, you have two scenarios going on. One is not good for the planet. It's certainly not a positive evolution for the planet. And the other is. And so when someone makes a broad statement like that, it's true and it's not true, because part of it's not true and the other part is. But I will say that the government, the One World Legion, the governments are terrified of the bargain they made with the devil. They can't recapitulate now, not because they're sorry, sorry because they, because for us, not that reason, but they're sorry because they're beginning to see that this may not work out well for them at all, or for the planet as a whole. And so that's why they're starting to look at other places to live, other worlds to live on. And there's all kinds of convoluted stuff going in here. And I'm not even going to go there. But the whole purpose of this is to try to, from what I receive, and whether, if you go there with me, you can get something out of it. And if you don't, that's fine, because, everybody and their brother's channeling stuff now, and I can't put myself above anybody else in that category. But this is what my story is, okay? My view of it, my Thothic perspective, my personal perspective, and all of it. And I say this not to scare people and just heap more fear on everyone. It's to allow you to understand how big the scenario is, how big the stakes are, and the fact that the One World Legion is not really entirely in control of what they're doing. In fact, they kind of aren't. They're in control of the manipulations, but not the bigger picture. And they wish they could back out of it and find another way to control their little world, rather than the one that they started out with. And, of course, they're not going... So they want to find out how to destroy these beings. Get them to leave the planet, but they're terrified of engaging that, of course. So they're in a pickle, okay? But it's their own little pickle, because we don't have to engage that at all. We don't have to figure out how to destroy the evil aliens on the planet. All we have to do is stay in heart-centered consciousness, stay aware, stay connected, engage, but engage from that frequency, share what we know from that frequency, and take action in our lives and our internal affairs from that frequency. And when I say internal affairs, I mean elections, people, helping people out, supporting others, making sure as best we can that the elderly and the disabled and the poverty-stricken are taken care of. All of these things are important to us, and we shouldn't just say, oh, well, the aliens are here, what can we do? No, we engage it on the levels that we can engage it upon. But the ultra beings, the spiritual angelics, whatever you want to call them from that shining realm, they're the ones that are pulling us through the loophole and taking care of all this other alien stuff. And that is the bigger picture. And so our dear Bernie, spiritual warrior that he is, he met a wall he couldn't climb over, but he was smart enough to recognize that, and instead of sulking away in defeat, he set up an alternate plan. And I believe it's a brilliant one. I'm not going to go into details on that, and I don't know it all, but what I do know of it, I feel is really good. And it's the best that can be done under such a situation. I will say, and this is getting way down to earth again, well, no, I'm going to leave that. Wait a minute. I have just a little bit more video here, and I don't want to take us off topic. So let me see what we have here. Okay, let me just...
Evolution of this planet.
I personally believe that Eisenhower did indeed meet with these extraterrestrial off-world astronauts. I would like to submit to our nation my personal testimony of one document related to one of these ongoing topics, which I saw while in office serving on the State Federal Relations and Veterans Affairs Committee. The document I saw was an official brief to President Eisenhower. To the best of my memory, this brief was pervaded with a sense of hope, and it informed President Eisenhower of the continued presence of extraterrestrial beings here in the United States of America.
Okay, I'm going to pause just a moment there to say that according to my Sophic intelligence, Eisenhower met with human-like beings, let's say what Thoth likes to say, the kindred. On what level, I don't know. They weren't luminaries or whatever. They were probably extraterrestrials, but in the light, you know, enlightened extraterrestrials. And they told him, as best they could for the time and the understanding that he might have had of such things in that age, that they were there to help. They didn't make some big promises about what they would do, but they gave him hope. I also believe that they told him what some of what was going on or going to be going on with these other guys. But they were there to assure him that all was not lost. I do believe that. That's what I received, and so that's what I feel is true. So let's take this a little further and see where it goes. I can't remember.
Briefs seem to indicate that a meeting between the President and some of these visitors could be arranged as appropriate if desired. The tone of the brief indicated to me that there was no need for concern, since these visitors were in no way causing any harm or had any intention whatsoever of causing any disruption then or in the future.
When we look at this video, we have to ask ourselves.
Okay, we're going to pause again. So, if I'm correct in that, they meant what they said. If I'm not correct in that, they were just, lying to him, which they are certainly capable of doing, the negative ones, the ones that are not, that don't have the Imstra molecule. But I do believe, in my own inner being, I trust what I received, that these particular ones, at that particular time, that first meeting, were the genuine article, the enlightened ones. Okay, this individual is talking about the Star Wars now.
The most expensive weapon system in the history of the world. And that's a weapon system which will develop the technology for putting space-based platforms and space weapons, laser weapons, space-based interceptors in space in order to attack benevolent extraterrestrial civilizations that are really here on an integrated galactic plan for the benefit of our planet.
I doubt that there's a single member of Congress that's in the loop as far as the alien secret is concerned. I doubt if there's one. I'll bet you that there are a lot of things that they're financing that they don't know about. This is a dereliction of duty on their part because they have a responsibility to be protectors of the public purse and to know what they're doing, and I don't think they do. How can you have proper civilian control of the military if they don't know what's going on?
Shortly before 9/11, in the summer of 2001, Rumsfeld told the Senate that they could not track $2.3 trillion in transactions. Now, just to put that in context, the Pentagon's official budget for that fiscal year was about $310 billion, or 1/8 the amount. How is it possible to lose 8 times your annual budget? After 9/11, that question, that is the missing Pentagon money, literally became tabled as a matter of national security. What is clear is that there's a lot of money flowing through federal offices that is of uncertain origin and of uncertain destination. And that's a perfect way to siphon out billions and trillions of dollars for all kinds of covert activities that have no oversight whatsoever.
Interesting.
Okay, another pause. Well, if Bernie or someone like him were to get into office, that little game would be over pretty quickly. And They simply can't afford to have that happen, because they're not just, you see, it's a little more complex than that they're just want to create a bunch of weapons to blow these ETs out of the sky to end their bargain with them. It's not like that. And they're not that stupid. They're pretty stupid sometimes, but not that stupid. They know they can't win that way. They're developing systems that have interdimensional reach, as you saw there. And that's why they're working with time travel. It's the old time travel shell game. Just like what Thoth showed me years ago. He showed me about Atlantis and why we got that time tsunami that knocked out Atlantis in the final stretch. What were they doing? They were going back in time trying to rectify something so it would turn out better for Atlantis. With all that gene manipulation they were doing that they screwed up on, and they wanted to fix it by going back in time. So it's that same time loop that they're trying to deal with here by rectifying certain things. I don't think they really want to take us all back through that portal. They want to create a timeline they can jump to, kind of like bailing out of the plane as it falls to Earth. I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot I don't know. I may sound like I think I know a lot, but I know that I don't know a lot. Believe me. I'm just telling you what I think I know. But it's something like that, you know. So it's not as simple as, oh, they're going to build these big, strong machines. So they also have this thing going on, according to Thoth, that is that they have orbiting or they're putting up to orbit the Earth. I don't know how far along they are with it, to create massive holograms so that we can see things that we will absolutely believe are real and are not. And this kind of ties into what we're hearing, you know, on the web and whatever, that one of the agendas, according to some document that's been deemed as very genuine and authoritative, states that there was a plan to take us along and make us fearful of this, the terrorists, make us fearful of terrorists, and the next step was make us fearful of an alien invasion. Now, I'm not quite sure about that particular, but based on the fact that I have received that they're setting up to create these massive holograms, that could be a potential truth there. So a little bit on 9/11. We've all heard plenty on that, but just to...
enough, the majority of fatalities at the Pentagon on 9/11 involved members of the Army's accounting office, the very people who would be looking into the missing $2.3 trillion.
One of the important things I think that they would want us to understand, and we need to understand eventually, is that we sometimes go ahead, don't worry what happens to the other guy. I tell you, it is very important to be concerned what happens to others. That ties into universal love and universal good. We haven't gotten the message, because it's okay if it happens to the other guy. It's not okay if it happens to us. But always remember this, to the other guy, you are the other guy.
Well, I was in Switzerland investigating.
Okay. I think just a last little piece
in
here.
Russia, in China, all around the world.
There's an organization that was formed after the Paris Peace Conference, after World War I, called the Council on Foreign Relations. And that is what I view as the U.S. branch of the world government. They control all the major media. And you can't get nominated to be President of the United States, whether it's Democrat or Republican, without being approved by the Council on Foreign Relations. They have grooming programs. Rhodes Scholars, Fulbright Scholars, Skull and Bones even, are grooming people for world service. Whenever you get elected president, you wear two hats. You wear a U.S. hat and you wear a world government hat. So the alien issue is something that a president is briefed on after he's elected. Before he takes office, he's briefed on again. After he takes office, Bill Casey gave Reagan a 1-hour briefing in late January '81, and then Reagan got an all-day briefing by Bill Casey in March of '81. That same thing happens to all presidents now, I think. He's given enough information for him to absorb, to realize why it's so important not to have disclosure or too much disclosure before it's time.
Now I know that the government has plans that when the common enemy...
Okay, I think I quit there. Yes, I did. And that he's just about to say about what I told you about when the common enemy keeps shifting. They're shifting it down the line, and now they have it, the terrorists, and next it will be the aliens, you know. And I think there's some real truth to that. I just haven't had it confirmed through my Thothic channel yet. And it's not something I can just turn on and say, oh, I'm going to get the answer to that. Okay, now I have the answer. I wish. It doesn't quite work that way. But anyway, so I don't quite know. I'm just saying I don't quite know, but it sounds legit to me. So there is one other, I keep saying there's one other thing, but there is one other thing here. Here is a picture of Hillary Clinton with Lawrence Rockefeller, no surprise. And she's holding a book, as you can see closer here. And this is the book. This is the back of the book. And this is the front of the book, Are We Alone? It's a book on extraterrestrial contact, which I have not read. So obviously, she's honing up on her information about that. How much she already knows, I don't know, but she knows something for sure. In fact, maybe even Rockefeller gave her that book. We don't know. But she will certainly know a lot more if she becomes president. Oh, can you imagine them briefing Donald Trump on this? Oh, my God. I don't think they would, actually. Well, I don't have... Okay, I just have to say that, and I could be proved very wrong about this. This is my opinion, okay? But I do not believe Donald Trump will become president. They're not worried about Hillary failing in the polls with him. They're going to rig it just like they rigged the other one, you know? So he's their plant. He may not even realize he is, but he's their plant to drive people to Hillary. And then they'll just dispatch him whenever they choose. By that, I don't necessarily mean kill him, but just, you know, he's out. He's out, or she won, you know, and that's the end of it. So I'm not... I could be wrong, but I'm not really that concerned about him. I'm much more concerned about her. In any case, you know, she did say to somebody who was asking her, oh, yes, yes, I will investigate the UFO situation. I will do that. Yes, yes. Of course, she would promise to investigate Mary as to where her little lamb went if that would help her get elected president. So, you know, she was doing lip service there. But she knows something already. And she will know a lot more once she becomes president, if indeed that happens. And it'll all be in their ballpark, what they wish to do with it, and that's the way they want it. But that's only a temporary situation. Remember, when you listen to all of this, the bottom line is we are not alone because our kindred are with us. And there's a greater plan to all of this, and just keep your eye on the next wave, engage it with heart-centered consciousness, and if your raft tips over, don't worry about it. It's just going to take you deeper to where you need to go. So that is my story on all of this. And I hope that it gives you some directive and presence that maybe you hadn't thought of before, or enhances something you did know and thought of. You may understand it better than I do. I'm just sharing it from the place that I am at this space and time. Thank you all for listening, and much aloha.